All right, so the 5 music games every teacher should have. I'm going to walk you through those 5 games and everything that you will get for those 5 games. So the first game that every teacher should have, I would say, should be Keyboard Kittens. So here is the game board. It's this adorable scene in a room with a piano, and cats are just all over the place. You can see a cat lover lives here because of all the special places that a cat can land or use. So the goal is for the students to race as a kitten to the basket. So this is a piece of yarn that's all around the room. So students really love just the visual aspect of this game board. But the musical objective is for them to identify either notes on the keyboard or notes on the staff, including ledger lines. So you can pull the ledger line notes if your students aren't ready for that, or you can leave them in and challenge them. This board also comes in a solfege form. So this is the letter size because I'm in the US, but your download would also include the A4 size. But as a bonus to our members, you can also print it. We give you a large format to print. So this would be the poster size. And I also have the poster size printed in the solfege. So if you teach using solfege, this would be great for your students to learn and review those concepts. So also you would get the A3 size. So for our international friends who use A3 and A4 paper, so the A3, we would give you that large format. In celebration, we have this beautiful Keyboard Kittens poster to celebrate. And I will show you that there's 2 different levels. So level 1, Keyboard Kittens level 1, the kitten paw print is just right on the keyboard. So if the first student draws this card, their kitten would go to the very first D on the path of yarn. There are some octaves in here. So and there's specialty cards like the 3 black keys, and they would go to the 3 black keys. There's a fishbone and a food bowl. So there's some really fun. Oh, here's an octave. So they would get to move twice. So in this case, they would get to move to the very next G on the path and then the next G after that. For level 2, we have quite a few cards. You can see that we include the ledger lines, but you can easily pull these out. If you don't want your students to work on ledger lines, you can always pull these out. We have the same specialty cards for level 2, and we also have octaves. So same kind of movement. I always leave the ledger line notes in because it's just a great kind of relaxed way for a more beginner student to figure out what those ledger line notes are. And if you use landmark notes, they already know some landmark notes. They can easily, all they need to know is one thing, and then you can move up or down. Often you will need to help them as a teacher, but that's okay. It's a fun way to kind of drop those new seeds of knowledge. Here are all of my kittens. So each student will get to pick the kitten of their choice. So a lot of details went into the art. It's kind of hard to see. I have these laminated and it's kind of bright right here. So we have 8 kittens. So up to 8 students can play this game at a time, or you can just play one-on-one with your student. So those are the 8 kittens. So definitely for keyboard geography and note reading, including like intermediate note reading, you could actually have the student identify the name of the note and then play it correctly in the correct octave on the piano before moving forward. So there's lots of ways to have this game. You can play it also with different levels. So if you had like a couple of level 1 students playing with a couple of level 2 students playing, you can do that. So that is Keyboard Kittens. I highly recommend. Ooh, one last thing. Here are the activity. We also have this in solfege. I don't have any solfege printed, but so the level 1 students, this would be their activity page that you could send them home with, or they could do after playing the game with you in the class. And then for the older kids, they have this cute story to complete. So those are the activity pages that are included if you're a member. All right, if you're not a member, then you just get the basic PDF game board with the instructions and the Success Buster. You don't get the extra bonus downloads. Okay, so game number 2, I would say, is going to be chameleon chords. Sorry, it makes it large. The game board is so large, but I love it. I highly recommend, if you're a member, print and laminate the large game boards. It just makes the artwork on them, it just makes it so appealing and satisfying to sit down with your students and have beautiful art in front of you that's not clip art or babyish in any way, and to really work hard on music theory together. This would be, I would tape this together. Mine's not taped right now. But if I printed it in letter size, it would be 2 letter size that you just tape together. Or that's for the game board. Or like I showed you before, you would get the poster size or the A3 size, depending on. If you're a member, you always get the options of using the paper size that's appropriate for where you are in the world. Okay, let me show you the chameleons. These are just so cool. I just love them so much. Okay, this is a Rudis chameleon. Just so cool. And this one's a panther chameleon. I actually have a neighbor that's trying to rehome her panther chameleon right now, and it's just so gorgeous. Here's a veiled chameleon. Here is a Namaqua chameleon. I might be pronouncing those wrong. And a Jackson's chameleon. So cool. We have a graceful chameleon. And one of the most fun things I think that the students enjoy about the art that we put into all of our games is just getting to choose what character they're going to use to play the game. Sorry, that's a green chameleon. This is a red chameleon. And I think that was it. I think that was all 8. So those are the chameleons. So again, up to 8 students can play a game at a time. There are 2 different levels for this game, and actually level 2 could be broken up into 2 different levels. So level 1 is on the keyboard. So this is all about learning chords. One thing that I'll show you again on the game board was we have a move guide. We have a move guide in the corner. So the students are learning how to identify diminished, minor, major, and augmented chords. I guarantee you that younger students than you think can play this game and be successful and learn the concepts. So we test the game on our Austin Arts Academy students before releasing them for Music Game Club. And we have played this game successfully with very young students. I personally teach using counting half steps for the patterns. We have, this is included, if you are a member, you get these extra sheets, cheat sheets or teaching sheets, teaching prompts. So how to teach chords. This is front and back. These are all the different ways that you can teach chords. Often we are teaching chords the way that our teacher taught them to us, but sometimes our students need a different approach. And so we have covered all the different ways that you can teach that. We also have this chord cheat sheet. So I always have this laminated on the floor. So my level 1 students, I can use this as a guide. I quickly kind of run through it at the beginning. But I found just getting in and playing the game with them and helping them count very carefully during the game, it will allow them to really have those aha moments of, oh, I'm starting to get it now. So real quick, I just teach, so 4 plus 4, so we're counting, so the colored note is where you start, and you're counting every single note. So sometimes it's easy for them to skip a black key or overlook something. So you just have to count carefully. So 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 1, 2, 3. So 4 plus 3 would be major, 3 plus 4 would be minor, 3 plus 3 is diminished, and 4 plus 4 is augmented. So it's like a math formula. And once you have those formulas down and you're counting carefully, you're going to get the correct answer. Here is also for the level 2. Here are all the augmented, diminished, major, and minor chords. So some are harder than others, and we have those color coded, so you can remove those if you don't want the hardest chords available. Okay, so back to level 1. I was going to show you this. So these are what the chords look like. So they're starting on the colored, and they're counting every, so 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 1, 2, 3. So 4 plus 3, that would be major. So they would look on their move guide and move their chameleon across. They would move their chameleon. So here are all the start places. So 8 chameleons can be starting all at the same time. Or you can just play with your student. They can pick their start place. And so they're moving. So in this instance, let's see, major would be 3 spaces. So if I had a guy starting here, I could go 1, 2, and there would be a bug here. And I'll show you those in a second. So I would remove that, 3. And so the next round, if I got another 3, I could go 1, 2, 3, or I could go 1, 2, 3, and get 2 more bugs if they're still available. All right, so that's what the level 1, it's major, minor, diminished, augmented. Now, if you wanted to just focus on major and minor, you could remove all of the augmented and diminished cards out of there. There's lots of different ways that you can use this resource. Okay, so the level 2 cards, they're here somewhere. Here they are. All right, the level 2 cards are on the staff, just like your cheat sheet. So the student would be identifying the chord, and I would encourage you to have either a paper piano or a dry erase board with a staff, or a keyboard close by, even if it's just a paper keyboard or a cloth keyboard. That way the student can kind of see visually, or even play it even better, the chord, because that will help them check their work and understand what's going on. The cards that are colored this teal color, those are the harder chords to identify. So you can see there's some double flats happening in this one. So if you wanted to pull all of the teal ones, you could, or if you had level 1 students, level 2 students, and say, you know, some more advanced students playing, you could make 3 draw piles. And so the 3rd draw pile would only be these harder ones. Or you could just remove them if you just wanted them to learn major, minor, diminished, and augmented first with the easier ones, and then you can start adding in the harder ones. So let me show you the bugs. Okay, so we've got some beetles in here. So anywhere there's vegetation, cactus, the spiky plants, you're gonna lay down, and I always have the students help me. But when you're laying them down on the board, you do want to make them so that it's symmetrical. So no matter which side of the board your chameleon's coming from, it has equal opportunity to eat scorpions and the 2 beetles, the 3, 4, 5. There is one with 5. So I have my little containers, my plastic containers that keep the bugs, because I have them laminated, folded, and taped. So it keeps their integrity if they're in the hard case. So this is the game that has the most markers. So I have 2 containers full of bugs. So it just covers the entire board. So just make sure, I always put the ones, the scorpions, which is, 1 point. So, and then 2s and 3s. And then as you get towards the center, because it's going to take them longer time to get to the center. So it's 4 and 5 is going to go right in the very center of the game board. So you'll have, I recommend putting the 5 here and then putting 4s around and then 3s and 2s. So typically there'll be some scorpions right at the very beginning that every single person at a start, if they get 2 or 3, they're going to be able to get to a bug. All right, so that's what the bugs look like. When all the bugs have been eaten off of the game board, whoever has the most bugs, like literally just counting how many bugs are on the cards, that's the winner. So for your review sheet, you have these major, minor, changing from major to minor, minor to major, diminished to minor, augmented to major. So this is just one of the examples of the activity sheets that we have, and then they can build their own here. Pick a note and draw all 4 qualities with it. So great take-home paper if you're doing like a camp or you have time in the lesson. It's good. And we typically will always leave the creatures in the game open for coloring down here. And some of our students really love that artistic aspect that they get to do for the review sheet. So they get to make these super colorful. So speaking of colorful, look, this is one of my favorite success posters. Look at that. It's just so amazing. All the chameleons. So take pictures, celebrate the winner. I always have the winner hold the poster, and if there are other students involved in the game, I always have them gather around and celebrate with them or hold up the game board, and then I send it to the parents and kind of explain the music theory concept that they worked on today in playing the game. All right, so that was game number 2. So game number 1 was keyboard kittens. Game number 2 was chameleon chords. And this is part of the 5 games every teacher should have. Okay, so game number 3 is counting caterpillars. So for this one, every single person who is playing gets their own game board. So this kind of makes it unique, a unique music game club experience, because this is the game board. So I have, our piano classes have 6, we can have up to 6 kids in our classes. So I always have 7 of these at the studio ready. So the teacher and 6 students can play. So everyone would get their game board. Now there's lots of different ways you can play this game. If you are playing with very beginners, so like our ages 4 and 5-year-old classes, they've seen quarter notes before and they know that they get 1 beat. Well, even if they didn't, even if it was the very first day of class, you can put a time signature. So let me show you. We have these time signatures. So that would be laid right at the very beginning. You would issue, and for the very beginning levels, so if you had a class of ages 4 and 5-year-olds, I would start with everyone gets a 2/4 time signature. So everyone's getting the same thing. Then you would lay out all the quarter notes. And then you would just ask the students, can you make a measure of 2/4? And they would place the quarter notes. I'll just show you. So the cards are like this. All right, so they would just be placing the notes in the body of the caterpillar. And then once everyone has the correct amount of beats, then you would take their time signature and flip it over, and it transforms into a butterfly, and that butterfly covers the time signature that they just completed. So once everyone has completed the 4, then you celebrate. If you wanted to make it more competitive, there's lots of ways that you can do that. We have that in the game board instructions. The typical gameplay that I use with students is I give them a 2/4, a 3/4, a 4/4, and a 5/4 time signature. So they have all 4 time signatures ready, but they're flipped over. So they randomly choose one. So each student's working on a completely different time signature. And there's there's 3 cards exposed on the floor, like on the table. And so they can choose what they need to complete their measures, and they also have 2 in their hand. So we're taking turns to see what's been discarded. Do we want that, or do we want to take from the draw pile? And so there's, every turn they get to add another card. Once they do have the correct, they're going to count and clap the rhythm and then transform their into a butterfly and then choose the next time signature. So this is a great way for students to really understand what they're looking at, what the name of the note is called, how many beats it gets. There are also quarter rests in here. There are single eighth notes. There's dotted quarter notes. Now you can customize the game. So you can only include what you want the student to be working on. If you only wanted them to be doing quarter notes and quarter rests and half notes, you could do that. So I highly recommend this game. Let me show you the success poster. Beautiful butterfly. And so actually for this one, what I've done is, because we have different ways to play the game, what I've done is I have printed multiple success posters. So say, for instance, we're doing the first way I explain the game with the ages 4 and 5. So everyone's doing it all at the same time. We're making sure everyone has the correct measure. We're clapping and counting. Once we've done 2, 3, 4, and 5 4 time, then everyone gets a celebration poster. So that's also good to do. You can do that with any of our games. You can print multiple of these if you want to make sure that everyone has something to celebrate at the end to send home to the parents. And then our activity sheet for this one is a beautiful caterpillar. So you can see they're going to color according to the time signature, and then it ends up being this really, it's going to end up looking like this at the end, which is really nice. And then a couple of questions at the end, just helping them really understand what does 2 on the top mean and what does 4 on the bottom mean. All right. So that was game number 3 that I think every teacher should have. So game number 1 was keyboard kittens. Game number 2 was chameleon chords. Game number 3 was counting caterpillars. And then game number 4 is froggy fifths. All right, so actually this is one of our largest games. Covering the circle of fifths and all of the key signatures with students is a huge, important task. And so we have this game, we have split it into 4 different levels. So level 1, let me show you a card for level 1. There are 12 different cards for each level. So you can see that this is level 1, but this is card 2. This is level 4, but it's card 2. This is level 4, but it's card 3. So they are numbered if you wanted to keep track of what card the student had each time they played the game. Otherwise, just shuffle, and they're randomly going to choose a card. But you can see that on level 1 here, there are 4. It's glaring, so I'm going to use a card to block it. Okay. Each student will get 4 different key signatures, so to speak. So the very beginning, so a 4-year-old can play this game. What we have them do is we teach them that this is the flat symbol and this is the sharp symbol. So they start learning that just visually. And then we just have them count. Well, on this keyboard, how many notes are flat? 1, 2, 3, 4. How many notes are flat on this keyboard? 2. So they're just counting. And so as they work their way around the board, once they land on that matching key signature, they'll take their little lily pad, lotus flower, and they will mark. So they'll end up getting 4 of these. And so once their card is completely covered up, whoever does that first is the winner. All right, level 2, let me show you a level 2 card. Here we go. This is level 2, card number 5, and this is what the backs look like. All right, so now they're starting to see, oh, there's 4 sharps, but it's on a grand staff. They can still just be counting. So a 4-year-old could still play level 2. They can just say, okay, 4 sharps, 1 flat, and then their frog has to find that matching key signature. But it's totally appropriate at this level to start teaching your students a method of how to figure out what major key that they are in. So this would be F major. And however, there's lots of different ways, and on our blog, we have different ways that you can teach this. For the sharps, I always say Frank can get dollars. And I'll say, okay, if you're on D sharp and you go up half a step, you land on, the student's going to realize it's E, and then you're in E major. So walking them through that, the first several times they play the game, you'll be helping them find the correct answer. And then at some point they're going to start getting it and they won't need your help anymore. Then they would be ready for level 3. Level 3 card. Where's the level 3 card? Here we go. Okay. Level 3 card just looks like this. So it is not marked on the staff anymore. So when they see G, G flat, E, or C, this is telling them you're in G major. So what is in your key signature? So they would need to know, I have 1 sharp, F sharp. So they would have to walk or work their frog needs to work around to the lily pad that has 1 sharp on it. And then they would take their marker and cover it up. So once they work around the pond and get all 4 major key signatures here, then they've completed it and they're the winner if they do it first. Level 4 is same thing, but this is the relative minor. So they've got to take this. So I always teach it, if you can see what minor key that you're in to find the relative major, you're going to go up 3 half steps. So if you're in D sharp minor, you're going to go up 3 half steps, 1, 2, 3, and you're going to land on F sharp. Now, some students might want to say G flat. So you have to coach them that it's 3 letter names. So if you're on D, so then E, F, it needs to be F something. And I actually say it that way, F something. Because sometimes they're landing on F, sometimes they're landing on F sharp. So yeah, just coach them so they're thinking about that correctly. And then knowing how many sharps are in that key signature. So that again, they would just work their way around the pond. Let me show you. I include, so when I'm prepping these games, I have extra lily pads here. This game does require a die. So I already have that in the bag ready to go. So if a teacher grabs this to play it, she doesn't have to go hunt for a die. Let me show you our game board. So I just put all my cards in this bag. Here's the success poster. Isn't that gorgeous? All these frogs. So these are all the game pieces. So I think we have 10 frogs in this game. So 10 students can play this game at a time. And they can be on all different levels, playing different ways. Here are the instructions. One thing I forgot to mention is we have a QR code that will give you the basic gameplay of the game. If you're a member, you also get extra bonus videos showing different ways you can use the game, different gameplays, or different ways to utilize the resource, like the game cards. All right, so here is the game board. Again, this is 2 letter size that I printed and laminated and then just taped together. You would also get it available in A4 size. Let me show you. Okay, so you can see all the frogs are going to start here on C major. If they have C major on their card, they need to leave to go off that lily pad to somewhere else and then return to claim that on their card. Here's just a resting spot. If they land here, they get a free token. So they just get to choose which one they want to cover up. Here they get to roll again. Here's another resting spot. And this one says steal and discard an opponent's token. So super fun. So you can see all the flats are on this side, all the sharps are on this side. So you can start explaining to them the circle of fifths and what that looks like, what it means. Here are the activity pages. So this is just a bonus coloring sheet. Isn't that gorgeous? Because they can work on coloring it like this. It's just super fun. A lot of our, do I have this upside down? I do. A lot of our music students are very artistic. And so they really have fun with these extra bonus materials. Here we go. Here is your Froggy Fifths. Sorry, I keep putting it upside down. Here they can make up a fun acronym. All right, so that is game number 4 that I feel like every teacher should have. It's a super important concept. A lot of teachers might wait until the student is much older to start talking about the circle of fifths or key signatures, but really young students can absorb it, especially if they're playing it in a game format. You can teach almost anything in a game format. Students having fun, they want to sit down, they want to play a game, they want to win, they want to learn. And it's like they're, it's like they're not even really learning, they're just having fun. But it's such an important music theory concept that you're just pushing that knowledge further into their minds earlier in their journey. So highly recommend starting them earlier. All right, the last game number 5. This is Rhythm Reef. All right, so these, I think we have 12. Oh, you know what? I forgot to show you the frogs. You kind of saw them on the success poster. So the frogs are flat, meaning they're not cut out and folded and laminated. Well, I say that, maybe my frogs are in the other room. I thought my frogs were in here, but they're not. Where did my frogs go? Here we go. Found another bag of frogs. All right, so I think we have, it's 10 frogs, I believe. Hopefully I have all 10 here that come with the game. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. See 8 of them. There's 9. There's got to be one more in here somewhere. It's probably stuck to a card. So we have, oh, there we go. Okay. All right. This guy is called a red-eyed tree frog. So he's a studio favorite. Like a lot of students like picking them for their game marker. This is a harlequin poison frog. I need to reprint and laminate this one. This one's heavily used here. He's getting faded. Here's a blue poison dart frog. Here's a desert rain frog. This is also another favorite. Here's a tomato frog. Of course, he looks like a tomato. This one's a variable clown tree frog. Ooh, this one's a favorite. Black rain frog. He looks super grumpy, but the students love it. Golden poison frog. Green frog. And spring pepper frog. This one's the largest one. So those are the 10 frogs for Froggy Fifths. Okay, so back to Rhythm Reef. Rhythm Reef is a fast-paced game. So students have got to be ready to go. One thing that usually the very first time you play the game, they don't realize how quick it's going to go once someone gets four of a kind. So I always kind of prep them ahead of time. Like the moment you see someone grab points, gameplay basically has ended. You've got to grab the points before all the points are gone or before only the lowest options are available or even the negative options are available. So it'll make more sense once I explain this to you. So we have, this is the letter size printed and laminated. So if you're an at-home teacher, if you teach out of your just home studio and you just have individual lessons, the letter size would be fine to laminate and print, or the A4 size. But we obviously, if you're a member, you get, look how gorgeous this is. So there are, everyone's going to start here in the sand. And then there's 3 different sections of the ocean here. So you've got like this tide pool section. So if you win the first round, your character will move into this tide pool section. So you can see, I think we have 12 markers for this game. Lots of students can play this game at the same time. So it's great to use for those camps or group lessons or group parties, piano parties. And then if you win again, you get to move into this kind of deeper ocean section. And then the final move would be to the finish, which is the reef section. All right, so this game, let me show you the cards. There's notes and rests on the cards. Students will get cards in their hand. And then the youngest student will be drawing from the draw pile, 1 card at a time. So they'll have 4 cards in their hands, the beginner students, and they're going to be sitting in a circle around the game board. The beginner student will draw the card, figure out if they need to keep it, what they need to discard, and then discard to the very next person. That person picks it up, figures out, do I want this? But you can go as fast as you want. So that beginner player, they might have 5 cards piled up and discarded before the second person has decided what they're doing yet. The goal is to get 4 of a kind. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm saying yes. No, Rhythm Wreath. Sorry, I'm getting this confused with another game that we just came out. I want to make sure that I'm saying the right. Rhythm Reef, you're paying on the flats, right? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, my daughter just walked by and she loves this game. We have so many different rhythm games, so I just want to make sure I was saying the right thing. Sorry, each student have a pile of cards because you've evenly distributed them between all the students. So scratch the instructions. I was telling you a different game. So they have cards in their hand and they're going to lay a card down, and it's blind. They're just putting their card down. So this is a card. So they would lay a whole note, no problem. The next student lays down a card. Now what they just laid down as rest. So they have to identify, it's going to go this way. They have to understand what kind of rests they're looking at, what the name is, and how many beats they get. So in this case, we have a half rest and a quarter rest. So that means the next person has to pay them 3 cards because this is worth 2 cards and this is worth 1 card. So they're going to pay 3. But sometimes when that person's paying, they throw a rest. And so that means the next person needs to pay them. So say they threw a quarter rest when they were paying the 3. The next person's going to pay 1. So if they pay with a note, say they paid, whoop, nope, see, that's more rest. They pay with a note, then that last student gets the whole stack of cards. So the goal is to get all the cards, and the moment somebody goes out, whoever has the most cards wins. So then they would move the marker forward. We have all of this explained. I'm not probably explaining this very clearly right now. We have it all laid out for you if what I just said does not make sense. You can always watch the gameplay with our QR code. Here is our fabulous success poster. I just love this shrimp. And the crab is really cool too. These are all the game characters. So we do have 10. We have a starfish. We have an Alaskan pink shrimp. We have a giant freshwater prawn. We have a red banded pistol shrimp. We have a blue crab. We have a sea turtle. Somehow I have another blue crab. Maybe we have 2 blue crabs. A black King Kong shrimp. A sea turtle. Oh, I have 2 sea turtles and 2 blue crabs. I think I'm missing some shrimp. And here's a harlequin shrimp. Okay, so our review sheet looks like this. So this game does include 16th notes. And I think there are some 16th, some dotted 8ths tied to, maybe not. Oh, yes. Okay. So we do have a couple of cards like this. Now, beginner students who are playing the game, it's just notes to them. I mean, you can explain what it is, but they're playing, really, they're going to be on alert the moment they lay down a card with any type of rest on it. Because that means the next person needs to pay them, and then they get that whole pile of cards. But for the more advanced students, you can ask them, there's lots of different ways you can lay out the cards and have them clap and count it, but they can also be saying exactly what they're playing. So you can have them say dotted 8th note, 16th note when they're playing the card. Whereas beginners, they might play that and you can say, oh, do you know what that is? And they may not. And then you can say, this is a dotted half note and it gets 3 beats. You can just start planting those seeds. Here's another example. There's 3 quarter rests. So if I laid this card, the very next person in line would need to pay me 3 cards because this is worth 3. So super fun game. It goes super fast. It's really fun to kind of keep track of who's paying who. And then it's always super exciting when a student's finally paid with the cards and they get the whole stack. So yeah, definitely a studio favorite. So those are the top 5 games I believe every teacher should have. Keyboard Kittens, and it comes in letter and like the alphabet letter, so to speak, and solfege. We have Chameleon Chords, Rhythm Reef. I'm saying these out of order now. Counting Caterpillars and Froggy Fifths. So really it's a note reading game that involves keyboard geography and notes on the staff, including ledger lines. We have a rhythm game that's fast paced where students are really paying attention to how many beats rests get, including adding multiple rests together. We have a Chameleon Chords game where students are understanding how to identify major, minor, diminished, and augmented chords. We have Froggy Fifths, which helps them learn the circle of fifths and all of their key signatures. And we have Keyboard Kittens. Oh wait, I already said that. What was the name? What was the one? Oh, Chameleon Chords. Nope, I already said that. What was the 5th one? What did I just? Rhythm Reef, Keyboard Kittens, Chameleon Chords, Froggy Fifths. Huh? Counting Caterpillars. Yes, thank you. Counting Caterpillars. So that's another rhythm, note, and identification game, but it's a completely different, it's a slower paced game. So it's in contrast to the Rhythm Reef, which is faster paced, and they're paying more attention to the rests in that game, whereas Counting Caterpillars, they're really understanding what they need in a measure, what they have, and how to complete a 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, and 5/4 measure. So those are the 5 games I feel like every teacher should have. So jump over into Music Game Club, become a member, and you get all of the things that I laid out. One last thing I want to show you. We do have boom cards for all of our games. So if you are a boom card user and you wanted, or say you had the printable game, but you also wanted the boom cards for Keyboard Kittens. So we actually have 13 card decks for Keyboard Kittens. So we have them bundled where you can get all 13, but we also have 2 separate bundles. I think one is 7 and one is 6. So yeah, so Keyboard Kittens 1 is just white keys on the piano. Keyboard Kittens 2 is sharp, the black piano keys. Keyboard Kittens 3 is flat black piano keys, and Keyboard Kittens 4 is all piano keys. Keyboard Kittens 5 is piano and the staff notes in the middle C position. Keyboard Kittens 6 is piano and staff notes in G position. Keyboard Kittens 7 is piano and staff notes in the F position. Keyboard Kittens 8 is piano and staff treble clef line notes. Keyboard Kittens 8, I just said that. Keyboard Kittens 9, piano and staff bass clef line notes. Keyboard Kittens 10 is piano and staff treble clef space notes. Keyboard Kittens 11 is piano and staff bass clef space notes. Keyboard Kittens 12 is piano and staff ledger line notes. And Keyboard Kittens 13 is piano and staff notes treble and bass clef. So another example would be for Rhythm Reef. We have our traditional boom decks are going to be four decks bundled together. So Rhythm Reef has 4 bundled together. Rhythm Reef 1 is easy note rhythms. So students would just, it's very simple, you know, tap the quarter note type of thing. Rhythm Reef 2, what time signature is needed? All right, so you have a measure completed and say it's 4 quarter notes. The student would need to choose 4/4 as their time signature. Rhythm Reef 3, match rhythm, notes to rests. So you have a quarter note pictured, you need to drag the quarter rest onto the quarter note to match those. And Rhythm Reef 4, how many beats? Simple rhythm for beginners. So it would be like you have a picture of a whole note, how many beats does it get? And they choose 4 beats. And the awesome thing about the rhythm, the boom cards, is they are self-correcting. So a student could be at a station or waiting for their lesson, and they could be issued a boom card deck, or they could be reviewing it on your iPad or device. You just have to be connected to the internet. And it's self-correcting. So if they get it wrong, it tells them, it just gives them a whoops, and it gives them a red circle, and it just lets them choose again. So the moment they get it correct and submit it, it dings and it moves them on to the next card. So students don't necessarily need your help, but it's always good to be there with them if you're teaching a concept for the very first time. You can teach it using the boom cards and then play the printable game, or vice versa. Teach it using the printable game and then issue them the boom cards to review. So if you are a member, you can use your points to either purchase the boom deck bundle or the printable game. Or if you have 2 points, you can get each. So you just pick exactly what you need, but the 5 games that every teacher should have, if you don't have any music theory games yet, those are the top 5 that I would recommend. So welcome and have fun playing.